conversation, we are going to, when I hit space bar in chat, it spaces me in chat. There we go. We are going to hit some quick updates, and then I'll highlight some events, and then I will do some Scilympiad demo, and then I will answer questions. So if you have questions while we're going, you can type them in chat. You can raise your hand and we can pause. Kathy will be monitoring chat and hand. So you should be good. Oh, I'm just talking to myself. Kathy, are those coming just to me?
The admit, what is coming to you?
Something about sound. Can everyone hear me okay?
I hear you perfectly fine.
Okay, well
I
then.
think just Shelly. I don't know. Maybe Shelly just like close out and come back in because everyone can hear me, right?
Yep. I heard
Yeah.
Bob.
Okay, well, I'll keep rolling, and if anyone has any trouble with sound, let us know. So first thing, you can win a ticket to the monthly STEM Showdown. You can win tickets for as many students as your team as you'd like, or your students can win. This month is structures. I checked it out, and students from Michigan are winning, just not West Side students from Michigan. So I know your students can win if they competed. So like on Facebook, retweet on Twitter. Each opportunity gives you a chance to win. So let's be winners, like I know we are.
And the test is usually, like the last Thursday in the month, the online test for students. Otherwise, it's $10 a piece. But this is kind of nice practice thing for them and to learn lesson plans. I always like lesson plans.
Yeah, and they do videos monthly, so I'll post those on social media. You can check those out with people who are working careers in that themed profession. Registration, 3 steps, which is pretty similar to our normal. Step 1 is registering the state. That's already done. You've already done it. Register on the Region 12 website. So the link is there. Even if you don't need to pay, you still need to go on there and just let us know like how many kids. And you just hit pay by check, and then you're registered. Check. And then the last one is register on Scilympiad, and the link is there. Most of you have done that. And then if you want more details, our website's there. It kind of outlines everything. So most people are getting through all the steps. So if you have any questions, you can always email us, msor12@gvsu.edu. Or, I know different people email different individuals. That's totally fine too. So we've got a lot of traditional online tests, which will just take place in Scilympiad. And then we have what we're dubbing the special events. So in person, we have the vehicles, Mousetrap and Gravity, Boomerlever, and Ping Pong Parachute. We have 2 video submissions. So those would be asynchronous, Mission Possible and Helicopters. Asynchronous meaning there won't be an event supervisor watching live. And then we'll have other events, which I've looped into other Game On, Protein Modeling, Sounds, Music, and Write It, Cat It. The rest of them should just be pretty basic, log in, take a test type of events. So for in-person, you're going to self-schedule that. You'll have a time slot and it will not overlap with any other team. So traditionally, we run 3 teams simultaneously through Boomerlever at a time. There will just be one. And you'll have like a 5-10 minute buffer. The longest buffer I can build into the schedule will be built in. So this is only Saturday, March 20 events. Each student is going to be allowed 1 chaperone. So you don't have to bring 1. Like if you as the coach are also the bus driver and you have 2 kids, you and 2 kids is fine. But you are allowed 1 chaperone per child if like a parent is driving. You'll come to campus. Everyone on campus is required to wear a mask at all times and complete a guest health assessment, which will send you that link. And then you have to do proof of the assessment when you enter the building. So obviously, well, not obviously, but as far as I know, nobody will jump you in the parking lot for not having a mask. But upon entering the building, you will have to show your phone that it'll give you a green check when you've passed the health assessment. So you show that green check, you have your mask on, and then you'll be permitted into the building. Currently, buildings are set up with a designated entrance and exit to prevent cross traffic. So you just go ahead, you flow in, you flow out, and that way we're not crossing people. It's, what the health department recommends. And I'll give out those final directions in the March mailing. So on March 1st, we'll make those final calls on everything, and I will confirm with facilities our flow, and then those maps will be distributed to you guys as soon as possible. Again, we're making the call on March 1st with all the information that we know. If on March 19th, some crazy strain of COVID reeks through Grand Valley's campus, obviously we will cancel all in-person events at that time. But as we know now, on March 1st, we'll make that call based on all the information we have. 6 feet distance is required between event supervisors and competitors. So we're working with event supervisors to make sure that flows nicely. And then general competition rules will apply. The video submissions, they're a little different. And you need to submit one continuous video. If you have, like for Mission Possible, there's a lot of different angles. You can submit multiple strings, but if they're not lining up timestamp wise, you obviously won't get any points for that. When you log into Scilympiad during your self-scheduled time block, you'll get a special code. That code needs to be in your video to verify that the video was taken at the competition time, not just like that best video you got that one time where something crazy happened and you had a fan. And so if you want to put the passcode on your shirt, you get bonus points, but don't have to worry too much about it. Certain events will have different things that you need to include in your video. That'll be in your March event notes. So like if there's size or anything like that. And please have your team practice to make sure they can take the video, save it, and submit it within the 1 hour. Any late video submissions will be in a tier below the video submitted on time. You can upload your video to YouTube privately and share the link with us, or you can upload a video on a CMS form that we'll make. It's just like a Google form. And the max size of a video is 10 megs. So just make sure, because I know like my mother-in-law is always like, look at this cute video of your kids. And it's just like 4 pixels moving around because she doesn't realize when it sends, it gets compressed and you can't see it. So just make sure at the size of 10 megs that it's still very easily to see. See, Bob has a question in chat. Are the in-person events counting towards team scores? We haven't covered that in this meeting yet, but it's a good time to cover it. So we've decided for scoring, you're going to get scored on your top 20 events. So there are less than, so if you don't compete in any of the in-person events, that's fine. That won't count against you at all. All the in-person events would then be your top 20. So yes and no. If you do really well at them, then that would help.
And if I can just interrupt, Chelsea, just saying we're really looking towards that was a goal just for equity, is that there are schools that aren't able to be building in person or have logistics getting there. And so it was really to trying to tweak for all these different scenarios and trying to make it as equitable as possible. And this is also what the state tournament is doing.
Yep. So in that vein, we always kind of try and align with what the state's doing, so you're getting a similar competition experience as you move up. So our other events are where it gets a little more exciting. So for Game On, obviously you'll be working on that outside of the Scilympiad portal. You can't do Game On in that portal. But what you can do is you'll be able to save your computer game, program, whatever we'd like to call it. And then you'll be able to submit that. So there's a file upload inside Olympiad. So we'll have that available. And then if that doesn't work out, we'll also have a CMS form, which is like a Google form. So you'll have both options there. It'll be really clear. So please encourage your students, if you haven't already, to sign up for a joint account so then they can co-create, because the theme will be released at the time where they're competing. So just like if you were to walk in person create this for us on campus, you're going to log into Scilympiad, your theme is going to be given to you at that time, and then you'll be able to start. So doing our best to ensure that you're not just like copy pasting the game that you spent 40 hours working on, because that would obviously be better than something you can create in an hour. Right at CADIT, there's going to be 2 events in Scilympiad. There's going to be a writer and a catter. So in Scilympiad, we'll get there, but you assign kids to events. For Right at CADIT, you're going to assign just 1 student to the writer event and 1 student to the catter event, instead of like 2 students to game on type of thing. And then the event supervisor the writer will submit their writing, and the event supervisor will distribute it, send it to the catter in the Scilympiad portal. So it'll be a 60-minute time block, and that's a sample. If the event starts at 1 to 1:25, the writer will write. 1:25 to 1:30, our event supervisor will get it all distributed. 1:30 to 1:50, the catter will CAD. And that'll
By
be
any
it.
chance, do you have an idea what that looks like from the event supervisor side? Our invitational is coming up this weekend, and I was told that if I set up the writer test and set up the catter test in the configuration panel, that somehow magic happens and the writer's written stuff somehow just gets beamed over to the catter's test. What you're saying now makes it sound like the event supervisor needs to do something to make that happen. Do you have an understanding of what that looks like and how the magic happens?
So my understanding is there is magic, and that the event supervisor can set it up magically. So I have a sheet, I believe, with code in it that you put in, like when you're creating a test as an event supervisor, there's an option to code. There's some HTML code. I think it's HTML. There's code, and you can drop it into the coding bucket, and then that code is what magically links it together. So I can send you that, Bob, if that would be helpful.
Does that code also come with some kind of written instructions as to exactly where it needs to go?
Yes,
And that's what has to happen to make the magic occur.
that is my understanding.
Huh, okay. It was communicated to me that I did not need to do that monkey business, that the magic was more magical than that. But I appreciate you having that info. So I look forward to your email. Thanks.
Yeah, I have not wizarded yet, but that's my understanding. So we can wizard together.
I would appreciate if I got a copy of that too.
Okay, so Bob and Brian, anybody else want to know how to be a wizard? Got it. So write it, cat it instructions. For anyone who hasn't had the opportunity to set up a tournament in Scilympiad, like Bob, Brian, and Kathy and I have been working on, it is a pure joy. So you're welcome to try anytime. I take interns. Okay, so that's pretty much right at CADIT. Protein modeling, we are doing part 1. So most tournaments nationwide are not. We are. Yay us. Our event supervisor appreciates that thing. So you can mail in or drop off your model. I understand there is concern with wrapping those very precious models into bubble wrap and sending them away. Obviously, it is more convenient to mail it in because you can do that at any time with as much bubble wrap as you would like. Or we're going to set up drop-off times. So we don't have that drop-off time set up or exactly where you're going to drop them off yet. So I cannot tell you, but I will figure it out by March 1.
Is there any chance you can make that drop off on Saturday, or you need it before then? Because if we're coming there anyways.
I'll see what I can do. That's a good idea. We might run 2 drop-off days then, one early and one late. Just so they're not having to grade all of them. on Saturday, but they normally do. So, I just don't know where our event supervisor is, because I promised them that they would not have to come into campus on Saturday. But we'll figure it out. But I will request
It's okay
Saturday.
either way. It's not like it's a really long drive for me. I'm just making a suggestion.
Right. No, I think it's a great idea, Brian. I'm just trying to think through what I'm promising. Otherwise, it would probably an after school time would be best for everybody, I'm guessing. Would 3 to 5 work, or is 5 p.m. too much of a stretch? Drop it in chat if you have any suggestions. Also, you can email me and Kathy will capture that. Last one of our special events is Sounds of Music. So there's 2 parts to that. As you know, there's just the written test, which will take place within Scilympiad, and then you'll do a Zoom call with event supervisors to do your device, which will be on Saturday. So you'll sign up for a self-schedule block, like you would any self-scheduled event, but then instead of competing in the event, you'll get on a Zoom call. And I'm thinking we'll put that Zoom link in Scilympiad. So like you log into Scilympiad and then you'll get your Zoom link there rather than trying to like email distribute them. I think that makes the most sense at this time.
Will that be like a self-schedule on that Zoom call?
Yeah. Yep. And I think it'll be like 10 or 15 minutes long. I'm told it doesn't take long. So that's it for my event updates.
And I'm looking at this too, is that kind of this, it sounds like a day event, like a day for drop off. Like a daytime is good, but that's also an evening time may be good for that. And so we can probably work around that between Olga and me.
Olga's on the call. Olga's the best.
Yes, sorry.
I was just saying you're the best, Olga. You don't have
I'm
to
just
say
kidding.
anything. Any other questions on events? I'll give time at the end as well, but we're going to move into the Scilympiad demo portion of the meeting. So if you were only here for event items, you may ask your questions and go about your business. I think awkward wait time has been achieved.
Good job with awkward wait time. Good job, Gigi.
Woohoo. Okay, so Scilympiad, I'm going to skip the team sign up. There's a link there for how to do it. Most of you that I see on the call have already signed your team up. So I'll just like briefly go over that. Then I'll show you the coach dashboard, the head coach verification, show you how to register for events. That is currently open, so you can play in there. It'll be open for 1 week. And then it'll close. We'll delete all that out, and then we'll open for real February 22nd as advertised. I'll show you how to register your students, and then I'll show you how students would take a demo test. And while I'm going through that, I'll show you how alternate teams are involved there. Okie dokie, so I'm going to stop sharing that. And then I'm going to start sharing this. And Kathy, could you put in chat our Scilympiad link? So to further muddy the waters, there is a Michigan Science Olympiad, Scilympiad, and there is a Michigan Regional 12 Scilympiad. So we are going to be using the regional one for our regional, and then we can port everything over to the state one for state. Are you guys seeing what I'm seeing? Awesome. So you know which one you're in when you look in the upper left here. This says My Regional 12. This is based out of California, so that's what we got named. So the first time you go to the link Kathy's sharing in chat, which is just scilympiad.com/mi-r12, it'll take you to like just a generic homepage. And then when you click log in the upper right, it'll have you set up a login. You'll set it up. You'll say you're a coach. Then it'll prompt you to set up your team. You set up your team, and then you'll be able to go. Well, so this is what home looks like here. So when you log in, it'll be here. And then as a coach, you can go up to coaches, the head coach dashboard, or you can do school and team registration. If you're having a hard time hooking your team to yourself, you can email us and we can assign you. So I can assign anybody to, if I want to be the coach of Allendale's team, I can assign myself as the coach to Allendale's team.
Okay, it's a deal.
I didn't promise I'm going to do anything. But this is the coach dashboard. The dashboard is your friend. Whenever you can't find something, go to the dashboard. There's webinars, documents, reference guide, everything's here. There's this little apple that says order a meal. That doesn't do anything, so do what you want with it. So some of the things are really easy for us to tweak and some of the things are a little more challenging. So just let us know as you're stumbling across things. We're learning with you and we appreciate your grace as we unroll this new virtual format in a time of endless new virtual formats. So you get your team, you can update your profile, you can invite other coaches. So, you know, if you're a bigger team or you have a lot of coaches that you would like to help you, there's your thing. You can update your head coach profile. So there it is, test coach with not my phone number. Students and teams, release forms, verification, and checklist. So when you go in here, it has volunteers and proctors. You do not need to worry about that. Normally we ask for a couple of volunteers per team. We're not doing that. Release forms are for your students. So we are currently in the process of working with the Grand Valley State University Legal Department to craft a release form that matches what it is we're doing here. So right now when you go here, it shows that Shelly and I have been playing. But it won't have anything in there yet. But once we get that set up, we'll include that in the March mailing. And it'll show up here under release forms. So it probably shows this one. Don't do anything with release forms yet. And then head coach verification, you can go ahead and complete this at any time. Basically, you just check whether or not you have photo release, if you have parental permission, certify that your team is aligned with the nationals, that you built everything, and well, that one's to certify that the team members actually go to your school and you didn't build a secret ninja team, and then that we align with how many B's and C's. And then you click here and it says the test coach signed. And because it's housed within your login, you get credit for that. And then the last thing is just taking you back to your head coach dashboard. So that verification takes the place of that final form you used to bring in that your principal signed. We don't have that. You just do it there. Questions so far?
You might want to check the chat.
Yeah, so I'll address. So you are going to need parental permission, and it's different because it's like, well, some are on, and some it's virtual permission for virtual. Some are on. So yeah, so what we're doing is there is going to be some kind of parents are going to need to give permission, but we're not exactly sure what that is going to look like because we have some in person and some virtual. And so we are checking with GDSU legal department and say, what kind of permissions do we need? So they will need that. And is that good? It might be just, yeah, we'll give you the details. For the March mailing, we'll give you details on that. So that's a good question.
But just as far as it works, to add a little more information, is basically it'll be a link that you'll see here under release forms. You'll copy that link, email it out to your students or your kids, and then a parent will have to go on, and then they'll just click sign. Like I just click sign on the coach portion, and then it'll show up here. So you'll be able to view all of your students. So green means go. Sign up. If you want to schedule, you click self-schedule event sign up. And you can't, there's no self-scheduled time blocks in right now. Let me correct. This is the scheduled event time blocks. So we don't have any scheduled events. Like traditionally, a bunch of our events are scheduled where I tell you when your team's competing. Everything we're doing is self-scheduled. So this eyeball you're not going to be using, but the little clock is going to look like this. So this is I have a C team. So these are all the C events, and you notice that anatomy happens 3 times. It happens Monday at 4, Wednesday at 4, or Saturday at 9 a.m. So when you hit sign up, it will ask you which team, if you're running a regular team and an alternate team. So you can pick, I want my regular team to go there. Well, now I can schedule my alternate time here, or double up. So I'll do it here. It won't ask me which team because it already knows that which team was registered for the first one. I only have 2 teams. Process of elimination, it's the other team. So you can run both teams. So I'll select my RMSC team, and then I selected it again, and then it puts done. So when you want to make sure you have everything, you want to make sure you see done all the way down. So I have both my teams competing right here in the same time block. You are permitted to do that, and then whichever one's in your regular team will get scored for the overall tournament. If you split your teams like this, the team that competes first will be your team that counts for points. So unfortunately, for your alternate teams, if your scoring team can only compete on the Saturday time block, your alternate teams also have to compete on Saturday, because we're scoring the first team that competes.
Do you know if there's a way, like, should you accidentally click the wrong spot? Is there a way to unclick?
So like right now, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to do astronomy anymore. Is that your question, Bob?
Or I like, oh crap, I clicked Thursday when I meant to click Tuesday.
Yes. So one would hope that it would be here, because I'm like, why? Also, I don't know what this column means. I guess maybe it means both your teams are competing at that time. I don't know what that all in column means. Ignore it. I don't think you need it. So you click here on the blue button, you hit show all my signups, and then you can delete. So I don't want to do astronomy, go away. So now I can go back to event sign up, and this is where you export it as well. I can go back to event sign up now, and I can pick a different time block. You can also beg your friends. So time block swap requests, you can request a time block swap. So if you really need that time block and someone just picked it, I don't think you'll actually need this, but face-to-face, our face-to-face events will be limited. So you might request a time block swap there. So Rhonda, to answer your question, does it matter if we have students on the alternate team or the official team? Yes, because what you're going to do here on the head coach dashboard is you're going to assign students to teams. So these will be all of your students, and then you'll show if they're alternates or not. So we can see this and we will verify that you only had 15 kids compete in the ones that scored. So I guess if you are being intentionally tricky and pretending you made a mistake, that would be a manipulation of the system and would be unappreciated, but could benefit your team. But the intention is that in alignment with the rules, you're signing your 15 kids up to do your events. I hope that answers the question.
So I just wanted to verify, because if I have, let's say I have 30 kids, and so I've got my, I call it my dream team of 15 is my original team that's going to go in, and that those are the ones that I want to be scored, you know, and so I'm looking at, for scheduling purposes, trying to make sure that they always end up doing that test first before the alternate team does. And so I just wanted to make sure, because it was kind of a little bit confusing as to if I'm putting them into Scilympiad, and that's my I call it the dream team. If I have my dream team and I'm trying to also make sure that they, for their scheduling purposes, is that they take their test before the alternate. And then it's like, if I have both of them in, but like, I just wanted to make sure that it was all very clear, and making sure that for the time sequences and trying to figure out all of our scheduling fun.
Yeah, it's another layer of scheduling difficulty. Unfortunately, the portal isn't set up to like flag that for you. So
Right.
I would recommend scheduling your dream team, and then when you go in to schedule your alternates, you would see like, okay, the dream team's first, I'm good. The dream team's first, I'm good. The dream team's at the same time, I'm good. Oh, this is too late. That's not going to work, and have to do it that way.
Okay, so then they can be competing at the same time in that same time slot, but then is then going to revert back to whoever's on the initial dream team. That's the one that gets scored first, even though they're doing the test at the same time.
Correct. So it will default to putting the dream team score into the tournament thing. It's going to be something that we're going to have to do on our end to flop it if it's
Okay,
not set up correctly.
sounds good. Thank you.
Yep. So yeah, we've moved on to students. So for registering students, there's all these different colors. Work left to right. So you add a student and you can just type it in and it generates a login ID. Notice I'm a C team and I said that this student was in 6th grade. You can do that. And then I will contact you and say, why do you have a 6th grader on your high school team? So please don't do that. You also have the option to import. So if you have your students in an Excel file with first name, last name, and grade, then you can upload that and then it will automatically populate so you don't have to type them in one kid at a time. I did notice when you're typing it in one person at a time, you need to go down here at the bottom and hit save. You can't see it right now because there's nothing for it to save. But when you type it in, it doesn't automatically generate a login ID until you hit save at the bottom. And then you put your students into teams. So right now, alternate test is the student available in the pool. So I would add him to my alternate team. So you click here, click add, and now look, there's no students available in the pool. Alternate test is on my alternate team, and these students are on my normal team. And you can go back to the roster, and then you have to assign your students to events. So here's all my students on my Team 1 RMSC. If I want to do my alternates, I have to go up here and switch to RMSC alternates. And this poor student has to do all the events. And so you just click, here is just you're clicking which events they do. And then you have to hit save changes. Error, alternate student can be assigned to trial events only. Uncheck the conflicting box. That's something I need to fix before you do that. So yeah, then you go back to RMSC. Go back.
And one thing I did notice is it does allow you to assign a kid to conflicting time spots. So you could put a kid into 2 different events that happen at the exact same time, and the system does not flag that.
Yes, I do apologize. I do think that this is going to be a lot of work for coaches. So thank you for your perseverance. Especially those of you with really big teams. But the good news is you have a lot of interest and enthusiasm. So congratulations on that. That's the good news. But yeah, so that's how that works. And then event schedules. And then it shows up here which students are doing which events, student 1, 2, and 3. And then it will also show up here which time block once you register for time blocks. So I've signed up for these 3 time blocks, and so these kids will doing that. So you can export that to Excel and send that to kids too. So I think that is it for the coach dashboard, head coach, registering for events, and registering students. So before we take the demo test, does anyone have any questions about the coach end of Scilympiad before we move on to be a student?
Are you going to have a drop dead date for assigning kids to events, or is it something we can do right up until moments before the test begins?
I have it set to close on Sunday, like we traditionally have it to close on Sunday. I don't think there's any reason I need to do that other than for face-to-face events, but face-to-face, I could still keep it open through Thursday with the testing if that would be helpful.
Just curious. I don't know that I have a feeling one way or the other. I've only got 4 kids this year, so it's not going to be a big deal.
Okay, yeah, so currently it's set up that it will close on Sunday. So if that's going to be a problem, please let me know and we can see what we can do. But currently it'll open February 22nd for choosing events. You can do this part, the student part right now, but the picking events will open on the 22nd and close the Sunday before. And I don't know if the students to the events is tied to that at all. Interesting question. Still didn't fix it. Okay, just playing. Okay, so this login ID, you can load student emails in here and then it will work with that, but you also don't need to. You can just use these login IDs. So I copied test trial here's login ID. So I'll go to my region 12. So you give your students this link and they'll just have to hit take test using a login ID. They paste in the login ID. The first time they use the system, it'll prompt them to create a password. So they set up that password. If they go in and set up the password linked to their ID and they forget it, you are the only person who can reset that password. So that's why it says forgot password. Your coach can reset it for you. And that you do on your roster. It says reset PW by their name and you click that. I'll show you that after this is done.
Chelsea?
Yeah.
The latest update of this program says you have to use the student ID. It's the only choice.
Oh, thank you, Brian. So you're going to want to use the student IDs. I bet that's a privacy concern with minors' email addresses, but that's just a guess. Anyway, so when the student logs in here, this is the test. All of their tests that you have them registered for will show up here, and then the test start time and end time and their status. It also says in red, there are some known connectivity issues with Safari, Chromebooks, and school furnished computers. Answers will not be synchronized among partners. Use Chrome, Edge, or Firefox instead. Now, I know whether or not they have a Chromebook is totally out of our control. I've heard that it does actually generally work well with Chromebooks. It's probably just a syncing issue. So we'll do our best with what we can. But so when your students come in here, they click on the event they want to partake in. It'll say what event they're in, when it's open, when it's closed, how much time they have. It'll say that you're required to stay in your browser. It tracks how much time they have out of their browser. And sometimes if it's a wireless mouse that they're using, it'll show they're out of browser. Please encourage your kids to not leave this portal. Obviously, they can do what they want. And depending on how much time it shows out of browser, I might contact you, but we're not planning on penalizing anybody. Down here, it says, make sure you and your partner are ready before clicking the start button. Countdown starts immediately. If for some reason you cannot access the test, refresh the screen. So you can chat to your team partner, are you ready? And then they can send back. I'm currently the only student signed up for this test and the only one in here, so it's not going anywhere. So I go ahead and hit start. And here there's what the test looks like. My countdown's happening at the top. There's the chat to go to your partner. If you want to send a message to an event supervisor, you can do so here. They may or may not be on because we're offering so many testing blocks. Our event supervisors are not able to support all testing blocks. So don't encourage your students to plan on that, please. But it is there and we will staff as many as we can. A multiple choice question. What is your favorite color? Mine is blue. This could be a true false question. No, it can't. Actually, yes, it can. Some questions have multiple answers. I like to drink blank to stay hydrated. So you can put in 3 different things if you like. So the correct answer to this is water, but I'll also accept H2O and aqua. So I could put all those in there, and if they're the same, they'll count. Like if it's referring to the same thing, like different spellings of the same thing, they'll all get recorded. And then on the event supervisor end, we can verify that if it is correct or not. And if they did 3 different things, like if I said water, Coke, and lemonade, then you're just not going to get any points because you're just putting in 3 different guesses. Or we'll just score the first one. Depends on the event supervisor, I suppose. But don't guess 3 different things. This isn't intended for 3 different guesses. It's intended for you to, if you don't know how to spell water, you can spell water 2 different ways. They can see videos. So notice here, it's a video. It's embedded in there. It just plays. You probably can't hear the music because I didn't share sound. It's nice music. And then this is just a picture. As you can see, it's just a random picture I had on my computer of stuff. But they'll see videos, they'll see pictures, and then this is where they can type long answers. And then at the end, they'll have their closing. Click in the middle and scroll down to see the rest of the test. And then when you're done, you hit finish test. This will submit your test for grading and you will not be allowed to make any changes. Are you sure? Yep. Woohoo.
One thing that's come up in some of the discussions leading up to our tournament is I've learned that with some of the answer formats, especially short answer, as kids are typing their answer, in order for it to autosave, they have to click somewhere on the screen outside the text window to actually get their answer to save. If the say the essay question is not the last question, then they automatically have to click down to a multiple choice somewhere else, then it automatically saves the previous question. But apparently with Write It, Do It, especially, a lot of kids have been writing right up to the timeline. And when the time is done, nothing is saved because they never clicked outside the window. So there needs to be likely some kind of major instructions in a large bold print thing at the bottom of the screen saying click, make a picture, like click on this to save, just to encourage them to click somewhere that's not inside the text box.
Thanks, Bob. I am making a note of that so I can encourage it and set it up in the portal accordingly. So if I look at my notes for demoing, I think that was all I planned on demoing in the Scilympiad portal. Oh, I was going to go back to the head coach dashboard and show you here. This is where you reset password. So in your student team event assignment right here, this reset PW. So if you hit reset PW, it prompts you, are you sure you want to reset it? You should only do this if your student reset it, because if they have it all set up and they're planning on logging in. I did this to myself today. I was like, oh yeah, I can reset passwords. And then I went to took the demo test and I was like, why isn't my password working? So, I mean, your students will just get prompted to set up a new password, so it's not the end of the world, but just a little annoying on their end. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen if there's no other questions about Scilympiad.
I do have a question, but I don't know if you want to wait till the end. I don't know if you've already set up the Write It, Cat It event for the Write It stuff to automatically beam over. You've not done that code yet?
No.
Okay. I was just hoping you could show me what it looks like, because I've got a lot of anxiety about that event for this weekend.
I will send it to you. I will start working on sending that to you right now as I answer any other questions people might have.
There is a question in the chat.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm having a hard time reading the chat right now because it hides on my computer.
That's fine. I'll read it. So Elizabeth is asking, so she's making my test. I use the 3 blanks as labeling 3 things on a picture. Might your anatomy test use that?
It's a great idea.
I thought the 3 blanks were supposed to be the same thing, 3 spellings of the same thing, or?
So this is what this is kind of what I'm thinking with anatomy and physiology. So I might, I don't have 3 different parts. I think it's kind of a point of clarification. Like if I point to something and the student may label tibia, and what I'm really asking for is malleolus on the tibia. So I think there might be that might be a little bit more clarification, is that the student saying this is what I'm doing, so so there's a little bit more communication with that. I'm kind of doubting that. I mean, there's just one intended. I think the intent of it, and I think we'll encourage our event supervisors to be the intent of it, and just some clarification of that, not really here's 3 questions in one.
Yeah, and a lot of our event supervisors are creating these tests in Microsoft Word or very traditional formats. Not all of them. Some of them are doing them in this portal as they conceptualize it. But most of them, I think, are thinking of them in very traditional format. So that last one was considered a fill in the blank question. I think they're going to think of it traditionally as here's one sentence with one blank. What's the word that goes in that blank? So it's possible that they could do it that way. And if we see things like that, it'll definitely be set up that way, and that's possible. But I don't think that's going to be the standard.
Also for scoring, that I think would be, one question, 8 point or however many points per that one question, and not like break it into 3 pieces.
Yeah, it'd be an all for one type of thing.
The way I've seen those kind of questions with like the 3 blanks be used is if it's a multiple choice or it's like more than one word associated with it. So like, for example, if you were asking for medial malleolus as your answer, you could set up, when you make your answer key, type medial in one box, malleolus in the next. On the kid version of the test, they'll only see the 2 boxes, and then you would prompt them that this is a 2-word answer. And that would lead them to think like, oh, it should be medial malleolus, perhaps, versus, just malleolus.
So many options.
That anatomy and phys is tricky. We like to make a lot of different. Well, there's this one point you're planning to, but there's a lot of different answers for that one point.
That test I have access to already. Some of our event supervisors are a little more